It's not even week 1 of the regular season, and already the Panthers' war room is sweating through their expensive suits. Because while their number 1 overall pick, Bryce Young, is out there throwing checkdowns like it's his first time reading a playbook, Shedeur Sanders, yes, the 5th-round pick everyone thought would need a redshirt year just to hold a clipboard, has gone full NFL ready in his debut. And the contrast? It's brutal. Bryce was supposed to be the future, the answer, the safe pick, the quarterback you mortgaged the franchise for because the scouting report said high IQ, calm under pressure, Heisman pedigree. Carolina gave up everything for this guy.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Draft capital, public expectations, time. And then, on the same weekend, here comes Shedeur Sanders, 5th-rounder, walking into his NFL debut like he's been starting Sundays since high school. Calm, collected, confident, hitting windows, commanding the huddle, calling audibles like a seasoned vet. Suddenly, all that talk about draft value starts to feel a little uncomfortable. Let's talk numbers. Bryce Young's debut? 4 completions, 6 attempts, 58 yards, no touchdowns. Nothing disastrous, but nothing memorable either. It was vanilla, safe, boring, the kind of performance that makes you squint and wonder, okay, but when's he going to turn it on? Meanwhile, Shedeur's first NFL outing looked like he was the one picked first overall. He didn't just manage the offense, he owned it. Poised in the pocket, quick decisions, took a 4th-and-1 risk, and made it look easy. You know how rare that is for a rookie in their very first taste of pro action? That's not normal. That's elite mentality. And it didn't take long for the comparisons to start. Because when a 5th-rounder outshines the face of an entire franchise on the same weekend, it forces a conversation. It wasn't just 1 or 2 analysts throwing shade either. Multiple respected voices in the NFL world started asking the same uncomfortable question. Did the Panthers get it wrong? Look, nobody's saying Bryce Young is a bust. Not yet. But there's a difference between patience and denial. And what we saw over the weekend wasn't a learning curve. It was a full-on warning sign. The body language? Off. The footwork? Hesitant. The reads? Shallow. Bryce looked like he was thinking too much. Like he was trying to play quarterback instead of being one. And Shedeur? He looked like he's been doing this since the crib. He's got that coach's son, wiring. The innate ability to process the field like it's second nature. Not only did he deliver throws under pressure, he made them with confidence. He wanted to be tested. That 4th-and-1? That wasn't a fluke. That was a statement. I'm not here to wait my turn. I'm here to take it. And that right there is the difference. Because while Bryce is waiting for the game to slow down, Shedeur is out there accelerating it. You could feel the shift even in the locker room. Players gravitating toward Sanders. Coaches smiling a little harder when asked about his progress. No one's saying it out loud yet, but the vibe is clear. This kid's got something. And on the flip side, the Panthers are scrambling to reassure everyone that Bryce is on track, that the system is complex, that we just need to be patient. All the classic PR buzzwords that get thrown around when a number 1 pick doesn't quite look the part. But here's the thing. You don't draft a guy number 1 overall to be patient. You draft him because you believe he can carry you. Elevate the offense. Be the guy. And right now, he's not. Worse, he's getting outshined by someone who wasn't even supposed to play meaningful snaps this season. Let's talk about the intangibles, because that's where the real gap is showing. Shedeur's command over the offense? Veteran-like. His communication with teammates? Clean. His response to media hype and ownership drama? Ice cold. And Bryce? He's pressing. You can feel it. You watch his footwork and see the hesitation. You listen to his pressers and hear the carefully coached answers. He's walking a tightrope between confidence and doubt, and that's a dangerous place for a rookie to live. Especially when someone like Shedeur is building a full-blown highlight reel out of his very first NFL minutes. And let's not ignore the locker room politics of all this. In Cleveland, Shedeur has nothing to lose. He wasn't handed anything. Every rep, every throw, every chance, he earned it. And when a guy earns it in the eyes of his teammates, that locker room follows him. In Carolina, Bryce was given the keys before he could even reach the ignition. And while that's not his fault, it does come with weight. If he stumbles, that confidence from the team, it starts to fade. Slowly, quietly, until it's gone. That's how quarterback controversies start. And make no mistake, this is a controversy now. You've got one team with a fifth-rounder who looks like a star in the making, and another with a number one pick who's still trying to prove he belongs. The narratives are writing themselves. And as Shedeur continues to rise, it only puts more pressure on Bryce to perform. And not just perform, dominate. Because fair or not, he's now being judged against a player who was taken almost 140 picks later, who didn't have the hype, who didn't have the sponsors, who didn't have the press behind him. All Shedeur had was a last name and a chip on his shoulder the size of the league. And maybe that's what makes this so compelling. Because for all the talk about pedigree and scouting reports and combined performances, Shedeur Sanders is proving it with film, with actual football. And no PR spin can stop that. You can already feel the media narrative turning. The articles are shifting tone. Fans are waking up. Panthers message boards are getting spicy. Meanwhile, in Cleveland, hope is starting to rise. Not cautiously, not out of desperation, but for real. Because maybe, just maybe, they found something. And here's the wildest part. Shedeur hasn't even started a regular season game yet. All this buzz is coming off limited reps. Imagine what happens when he gets the green light. When he gets a full game plan. When he gets more chemistry with the starting unit. That's the future people are starting to see. And the Panthers? They're starting to wonder if they misread the present. No one's pulling the plug on Bryce Young. Yet. But make no mistake, the clock just started ticking louder. Every missed throw, every conservative checkdown, every game without a spark is going to be held up against what Sanders is doing. That's not pressure. That's reality. And you better believe Shedeur Sanders is embracing every second of it. Not because he wants to embarrass anyone. Not because he's trying to prove the Panthers wrong. But because he's been waiting his whole life to prove he was right. And right now, he's doing just that. Bryce Young isn't panicking. Yet. But the people around him? Oh, they're definitely starting to sweat. The executives, the coaching staff, the scouts who staked their reputations on that number one pick. They're watching Shedeur Sanders light up film rooms across the league. And they're silently praying Bryce figures it out before the comparisons turn into conclusions. Because this is how it starts. First, it's the early camp overreaction. A rookie outperforms expectations and people say, relax, it's just preseason. Then the film gets passed around. Coaches who aren't even part of the Brown staff are breaking it down, rewinding a 15-yard completion from Sanders and saying, that's not normal. That's advanced. Then come the headlines. Then the debates. Then the pressure builds. And for Bryce Young, that pressure is heavier than most rookie quarterbacks ever have to deal with. Why? Because he wasn't just any number one pick. He was the number one pick. The face of a franchise. The guy who was supposed to be different. Mature beyond his years. A pocket surgeon. A day one franchise quarterback. And now, just months later, the football world is already asking if the Panthers made the wrong choice. Not because Bryce is failing, but because Shedeur Sanders is thriving. This isn't about stats. Not really. This is about presence. This is about the way Shedeur walks into the huddle, commands a field, and executes with the kind of rhythm you expect from a 5-year veteran. That's the thing no spreadsheet or combined test can measure. And it's got Carolina shook. They've been here before, too. They know what it's like to fall for the illusion of safe quarterback picks. They drafted Jimmy Clausen. They passed on better talent for system guys. Cam Newton worked out for a time, sure. But since then, it's been a graveyard of almosts and never was. So you can understand why this feels too familiar. A highly touted pick comes in, doesn't live up to the hype immediately, and suddenly the air gets thick with what-ifs. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is over in Cleveland, flashing high-level quarterbacking skills in real time. Progressions? Clean. Pocket presence? Advanced. Communication? Sharp. Even his sideline demeanor looks locked in. No wide eyes, no slouching, no hand-wringing. It's not swagger. It's readiness. He doesn't flinch under pressure. And that's what makes the Panthers' situation even more uncomfortable. Bryce Young is a talented quarterback, no doubt, but right now, he's playing not to lose. While Shedeur is playing like he's got nothing to lose. And that's dangerous. Because confidence without entitlement? That's what every coach dreams of. A young quarterback who prepares like a backup and performs like a starter. That's exactly who Shedeur Sanders is right now. He wasn't gifted this opportunity. He wasn't crowned. He wasn't even really expected to see the field this season. And yet, after just a handful of series, he's become the most intriguing young quarterback in the league. Let's talk about that 4th-and-1 play again. Because it wasn't just a risky call, it was a defining moment. Most rookies in that situation take the safe route. Maybe hand it off. Maybe try a little play action. But not Shedeur. He dropped back, scanned the field, and rifled a pass over the middle. Tight window, full confidence. First down. Drive continues. The sideline erupts. That's the kind of play that gets veteran linemen looking at each other like, okay, this guy might be for real. That's the kind of play that makes a coach start scribbling down packages for this kid. Because if he can do that now, what's he going to look like in November? And the Panthers? They watched it too. They watched Bryce Young hesitate in clean pockets. They watched him settle for checkdowns instead of trusting his eyes. They watched a first overall pick look unsure. And then they watched a 5th-rounder take over a game with absolute control. It's the nightmare scenario. Because now the fans see it. The media sees it. The league sees it. And worst of all, Bryce sees it too. And make no mistake, he's not oblivious. He's not sitting in some soundproof bubble, shielded from all this. He's aware. Quarterbacks are always aware. And when you're the number 1 pick, and a kid taking 140 spots after you is getting more buzz than you are, it eats at you. No matter how composed you try to be, you start pressing. You overthink the basics. You double clutch on throws. And suddenly your mechanics are off and your timing is late, and the whole thing spirals. That's the danger now. Because as much as this is about talent, it's just as much about mental fortitude. And Shedeur? He's been hardened by scrutiny his whole life. He's used to proving people wrong. He expects to be underestimated. Bryce Young hasn't had to deal with that yet. Not like this. But now he's in it. And unless he starts stacking performances that silence the noise, the comparisons aren't going away. They're going to grow. Every touchdown Shedeur throws will be another grain of doubt planted in Carolina's soil. Every confident drive he leads in Cleveland will make Bryce's conservative style look more like caution than control. The Panthers now have 2 choices. They can dig in, protect their investment, and ride with Bryce no matter what. Ignore the noise. Stick to the plan. Hope he develops. Or they can panic. They can start second-guessing the system. They can tweak the playbook. They can speed up his process and hope he responds. But the one thing they can't do? Ignore Shedeur Sanders. Because he's not going anywhere. Not now. The Browns have nothing but upside with him. Every flash of brilliance is house money. He wasn't expected to deliver this soon. And yet, here he is, forcing a quarterback conversation in Cleveland of all places. And for once, it's a good one. This is a franchise that has been drowning in quarterback failures for decades. From busts to backups to big money mistakes, Cleveland has been desperate for someone like Shedeur. And he's delivering more than just hope. He's delivering poise, execution, clarity. Meanwhile, the Panthers are stuck in the most brutal place a franchise can be, uncertain about the most important position on the field. Bryce Young may still figure it out. He's talented. He's smart. He's dedicated. But in the NFL, it's not just about growth. It's about timing. And if Shedeur keeps progressing at this pace, time is the one thing Carolina might not have. Because the narrative is shifting, and once it does, it's hard to change it back. So what happens next? Simple. We watch. We watch as Bryce Young is forced to level up, not for the fans, not for the media, but for survival. We watch as Shedeur Sanders continues to carve out his lane, not just as a steal, not just as a surprise, but as a potential starter. And we watch as two quarterbacks, drafted worlds apart, start to define their legacies, not by where they were picked, but by what they do with the opportunities. Because sometimes the league gets it right, and sometimes it takes a fifth rounder to remind everyone how wrong they were. The Panthers can feel it, the tide turning. What was supposed to be a smooth quarterback transition, a franchise finally getting its guy, has become a slow, uncomfortable unraveling. Not because Bryce Young is awful. He's not. But because he's not it yet. And someone else, someone who wasn't supposed to even be part of the conversation, is suddenly making a case for being the best rookie quarterback in the league. That someone? Shedeur Sanders. Let's zoom out for a moment. This league, the NFL, doesn't care where you were drafted. It doesn't care what your pre-draft interviews looked like, how many accolades you brought with you from college, or how many TV analysts said you had a high floor. That's all fluff once you step onto an NFL field. Out here, you either ball or you don't. Shedeur is balling. Bryce isn't. That's not slander. That's reality. When you watch Shedeur on tape, you see a quarterback who looks like the game slowed down for him. That's the holy grail of quarterback development. The moment when you stop reacting and start controlling. When you don't see defenders, you anticipate them. When the rush comes and you don't panic, you adjust. When the read is muddy and you know where your safety valve is without even looking. That's where Shedeur is. Already, as a fifth-round rookie, Bryce, he still looks like he's waiting for the training wheels to come off. Every drawback is deliberate. Every pass feels cautious. And for a player who was supposed to be the most NFL-ready in the class, that's not just disappointing. It's disorienting. It forces you to ask the kind of questions front offices hate asking. Did we pick the wrong guy? And worse, can we afford to admit it if we did? That's where the Panthers are right now, stuck in that purgatory between loyalty to their pick and the rising evidence that they might have missed out on a generational gamer. Let's be real, no team wants to give up on a number one pick after one season. Hell, not even after two. But in today's NFL, windows close fast. Roster churn, salary caps, impatient fan bases, and social media pressure have turned quarterback development into a high-speed, low-grace process. You either show flashes or you fade. And while Bryce Young is asking for time, Shedeur Sanders is out here forcing decisions. Every pass he completes with anticipation. Every deep ball he lands in stride. Every third down conversion where he steps up into pressure instead of bailing out. All of it stacks up into something front offices can't ignore. Proof. Proof that he belongs. Proof that he can handle a franchise. Proof that maybe, just maybe, the draft got it wrong. Because let's not forget, Shedeur didn't drop to the fifth round because he lacked talent. He dropped because the league didn't know what to do with him. Because he wasn't from a Power 5 blue blood. Because he wasn't a system quarterback. Because he had a last name that came with baggage and a swagger that made traditionalists uncomfortable. But none of that matters now. Because the film doesn't lie. And the Browns? They might be sitting on a gold mine. Think about it. Cleveland hasn't had a true, long-term solution at quarterback since ever. Every few years, it's a new name, a new hope, a new disappointment. Draft picks, trades, big contracts, busts. It's a graveyard of almosts. But Shedeur? He might be the one. The fans are already whispering it. The locker room can feel it. The coaching staff won't admit it publicly, but they see it. You don't get that kind of command, that kind of decision-making from rookies, especially not ones who were written off as projects. Yet here he is, making throws you can't coach, leading drives like he's been in the league for 5 years, standing in the pocket with defenders barreling down on him and delivering strikes. And meanwhile in Carolina, every quiet game from Bryce becomes louder. Every drive that stalls. Every ball he tucks and runs instead of throwing. Every time he settles for a check down on third and long. It's not just about results anymore. It's about optics, about energy, about the spark that tells you, this is our guy. Right now, Shedeur has that. Bryce doesn't. And the Panthers know it. But what do? You can't bench Bryce. You can't panic trade him. You can't pretend Shedeur's not cooking up north in Cleveland. So you wait. You hope. You pray that your guy finds his footing before the gap becomes too wide to close. But the danger? The league isn't going to wait for him to catch up. Because if Shedeur continues on this trajectory, keeps climbing, keeps showing maturity, keeps winning over his team, he becomes the new standard. Not just in Cleveland. Across the league. Other teams start using his name in draft war rooms. We don't want another Bryce. We want a Shedeur. And that's when the shift becomes permanent. It's happened before. Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson. Players who came in with no fanfare and redefined what success looks like at the position. Guys who made entire scouting departments eat their words. Shedeur Sanders is on that path. And that should terrify Carolina. Because for them, this wasn't supposed to be a comparison. Shedeur was supposed to be a footnote. A guy who might develop into a backup or flame out entirely. Bryce Young was supposed to be the story. Now, he's just a subplot. And with every clean rep, every controlled drive, every highlight clip of Sanders making it look easy, the spotlight shifts a little more. Away from Bryce. Away from the Panthers. Toward Cleveland. Toward Shedeur. Toward the kid they didn't expect, but now can't look away from. And the best part? He's just getting started. The league is watching now. Coaches, GMs, analysts, former players, fans. Everyone who once dismissed Shedeur Sanders as a legacy pick or a hype machine is sitting up, taking notes, and, perhaps reluctantly, admitting they were wrong. Because this isn't hype anymore. This is performance. This is precision. This is poise under pressure. And it's happening in real time, right under the noses of teams who didn't think twice about passing on him. And let's be clear, Shedeur's not out here campaigning for the spotlight. He doesn't need to. His play is doing the talking. Every time he steps on the field, it's surgical, confident, under control. There's no panic in his eyes, no second-guessing in his throws. He's playing like a guy who knows he was born for this. And now the world is just catching up. That kind of energy? It's contagious. In Cleveland, the mood is changing. For a city that's endured every possible flavor of quarterback disappointment, Shedeur represents something different. Not a rebuild. Not a fixer-upper. A future. One that doesn't have to be delayed. One that might already be here. Meanwhile, down in Carolina, the silence is deafening. The excuses are running thin. And the clock? It's ticking faster than anyone expected. Bryce Young still has time, yes, but the patience that once felt generous now feels fragile. Because when fans look around the league and see a fifth-round rookie outplaying the guy they were told was pro-ready, doubt creeps in. And doubt in this league is deadly. This isn't just a quarterback comparison anymore. It's a study in momentum. One player is surging. The other is treading water. And the longer this continues, the more those two narratives drift apart, until one becomes a franchise face and the other becomes a cautionary tale. And if the Panthers aren't careful, they're going to look back and realize they weren't just watching Shedeur Sanders dominate. They were watching their own mistake unfold, one throw at a time.